Final hour OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel. Bryan Hayes, Frankie Corrado, TSN 1050, your home smart speaker, the TSN app, and now up on TSN 2. Big hour. Roleplay level of concern later in the hour. Best bets brought to you by FanDuel on the Raptors game tonight. Raptors-Hawks down at Scotiabank. It's coming up later on, and Darren Dreger will join us here in a few moments, where a lot of action in the NHL recently, Frankie, where you've got big games, big injuries. You've got another firing today. St. Louis fired Craig Berube, or I guess was it last night after the game?
Yeah, I think it was just after midnight. I was doing the Jets game last night and just logged off for like doing the second intermission. I'm like, oh, Berube got fired. That's late.
Yeah,
everyone's gonna see that in the morning.
Right. They lost to Detroit, I think it was last night, 6-4. But like, you explain this to me, and maybe Dregs can explain it. Was St. Louis supposed to be like some good team that I'm unaware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
They're in that weird murky middle where they're not good, but they probably have a good direction to go as far as tanking, to be honest with you. Like, they could do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in the West is more complicated because, again, like we've been saying, once you get past the top three in each division, who are like lapping the fields, the Colorados, Dallas, Winnipeg, Vegas, Vancouver, LA, then you just got a bunch of teams who don't seem to be that good. Nashville, Arizona, St. Louis, Calgary. Like, Seattle's been awful this year, and they're 3 points out of a playoff spot.
And they can't score a goal. They can't win a game. They can't score a goal. They weren't getting saves. Minnesota was a playoff team last year. They're
right. They fired their coach.
Close. Yeah.
No, so it's kind of, I think, complicated if you're a team like St. Louis, where, as you stated, you could make the case, guys, bottom out here, we can end up with a top 5 pick. But I'm sure ownership's sitting there saying, well, I looked at the standings today and we're a point out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, how do you tank if you're a point out? And I think firing the head coach would suggest they're not doing that, right? They're going to try to implement some sort of new system or create a spark. And I would guess they're looking at it saying, we're 28 games in here. Why not try to put our best foot forward? But
is that the coach you fire, though? Like, that coach is really good, very well respected. He brought them to a Stanley Cup. It feels like such a quick decision. Like, they just shot from the hip. Mm-hmm. Like, they woke up one day, and there's got to be another reason why. I don't see how it could just be based around how the team has played. They're kind of right where you would have expected them to be this year.
It's pretty wild, the amount of firings already in the season. Right, where Minnesota, Edmonton, again, all the Western teams that are out of the playoffs looking in. And like Edmonton thought they'd be a playoff team. Minnesota thought they'd be a playoff team. I guess this would suggest St. Louis would. But you're right. It's kind of like a Nick Nurse situation where the Blues had never won a cup. Berube gets hired halfway through the season when they were a disaster and triggers an incredible response, in large part because of Binnington arriving as well. Binnington was a huge part of that. But Berube, gets them there, gets them over the top. They win a Stanley Cup, and here we are 4 years later, 5 years later, and he's out. Yeah. And, Nick Nurse, the same thing. He gets them to an NBA final. They win it for the first time ever. 4 years later, it's like, we're done with you, Nick. You got to leave.
Yeah, that Craig Berube, that name, and we always talk about when new coaches get hired. So, like, they bring in a guy who has never been in the NHL as a head coach, Drew Bannister, and I believe he was in Sault Ste. Marie. Yep. So now he's going to be the interim guy in St. Louis. So they're not recycling someone; they're bringing in some new blood. Whoever hires Craig Berube is not going to be recycling some guy who's been around the block a million times and may have gone stale. Like, whoever brings this guy in next is getting a quality coach that's very well respected by the players and like finds ways to get players to buy into, what makes a team successful. For whatever reason, like, they obviously don't have the horses, but it hasn't gone well for St. Louis the last couple of years.
No, it hasn't, and I would think Berube will be sought after. I mean, I think there's some people looking at Pittsburgh as well, wondering, is Sullivan going to survive? Where I know Dubas just gave him a vote of confidence, and my understanding is Sullivan was involved in the GM evaluation and the process of hiring Dubas in the first place. Yeah. So that would suggest ownership is in the corner of Sullivan. But when you get a new GM, new president, usually over time, he's looking to put in his own people. And Sullivan is not that guy. And he's won 2 cups down there. Berube's won a cup in St. Louis. If and when that happens with Sullivan, and it has with Berube, you got to think teams around the league are going to take a look.
Yeah.
And, you look at Ottawa last night, they lost again in ugly fashion. DJ Smith came out after the game and just basically said they were terrible. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but they were.
Yeah.
And, it's just a bad scene there where you keep waiting for them to get going. That was a tough one last night because Carolina's a really good team that have really been struggling. You knew Carolina was going to snap out of it at some point.
They had the closed-door meeting. They went on to the West Coast there, and they couldn't win a game, and they were getting blown out by Edmonton. It wasn't good for them.
It's been ugly for them. It's been really ugly for them. It's New Jersey, the same thing. They can't get stops. They've had injury problems. Tampa can't get stops. But that's what's concerning if you're Ottawa. You're waiting to finally take that leap. You've invested in all these players. There's no flexibility for Staios and company because they've given all of them long-term deals, and you're looking at this hoping Ottawa will somehow turn it around. They're going on the road like a crazy road trip now, where I believe they go through St. Louis with a new coach, Colorado, Vegas, Arizona, who's been playing better. They got Dallas. They have a really tough, I think, 6-game trip coming up here where their season might be over already, but if they go 2-4, 1-5, it's cooked, especially when you consider Jersey. I think they'll get out of it. Tampa still probably can and will get out of it. Pittsburgh's a team that probably believes in themselves more than Ottawa does right now.
Islanders have played well lately.
Islanders, Carolina.
It's
forget the Bostons and the Torontos and the Rangers. Is Ottawa going to pass Tampa? Is Ottawa going to pass Carolina? New Jersey, teams like that who have struggled out of the gate. It's got to be nerve-wracking out there and incredibly frustrating. Here's our TSN hockey insider, Darren Dreger. Dregs, what's the reaction league-wide when a guy like Craig Berube becomes available all of a sudden?
Well, it kept the attention of lots of teams, I'm sure, Bryan. But we've already seen coaching dismissals to this point of the season. It's still early. But you're talking about a very experienced, decorated guy, a guy who is kind of synonymous with the success of the St. Louis Blues. So maybe the fan reaction was surprise. Obviously, for those of us who pay closer attention, it was less surprising, which is why I brought it up. I mean, the one thing that I loathe more than anything is firing coaches or managers. And when you get the information, as I had yesterday, that they were right in the tipping point in St. Louis of either the team starts to play better, which they showed signs of early in that game, and then they just let the game get away from late in the second and early in the third, that that change is coming. And unfortunately for Craig Berube, he probably saw the writing on the wall for quite some time. In fact, the rumors of Berube's dismissal date back to the offseason. So I don't think that he would have been even remotely surprised, but he's a high pedigree coach. So I'm sure that when news was made official late last night, there were owners more than anything else that maybe sent notes to their managers going, okay, well, does a guy like this move the needle? I can't pinpoint any one specific coach. I mean, I heard you guys coming into the segment talking about teams that maybe have interest in that. But then you have to flip it and go, okay, well, Craig Berube has just come out of a long tenure with the St. Louis Blues where he's won a Stanley Cup. He's had great success. Maybe he needs to just, kind of decompute a little bit and settle down and wait for the perfect opportunity. In his case, I think he has the swagger and he has the experience to be able to do that.
Dregs, it seems like the expectations for the St. Louis Blues may have been unrealistic with them firing the coach right now. I don't know who looked at St. Louis before the season and said, that's a surefire playoff team and they should be playing well and they should be in the mix. If anything, you could make the case that they have some pieces that are valuable around the league, but not enough to really make something of that group, and they could move and try and rebuild the other way. And Doug Armstrong said something like he doesn't feel like he's left the organization better than he found it. The guy won a Stanley Cup, so I don't know where the crazy expectations are coming from with that group.
No, but I think every coach has a shelf life, right, Frankie? So, you get to a place where as a general manager, you only have so many bullets. I think the relationship between Doug Armstrong and Craig Berube is going to be strong moving forward. I don't doubt for a second that they had tough conversations leading up to, the decision to pull the trigger last night. I'm sure the coach looks at his roster and he can see the pieces, but he's like, okay, well, I'd like to, better our defense. Defensive or up front, we need a little bit more jam, and we need penalty killers, and maybe we need a little bit more offensive spark. So then you've got that level of disconnect. But the one thing, and I mentioned it last night, and this is coming from teams that play against the St. Louis Blues, the Blues are not the heavy, hard-checking team that they once were. And that was always a strong identity of the St. Louis Blues. So what does that come down to? Well, I think it's a combination of guilt here. You know, you can blame the general manager for not having players who are willing and committed to playing that way, or if you're management, you can blame the coach and say, well, the coach isn't getting the message through anymore, so that's the change we need to make. And honestly, I think that's what it boiled down to. But, they're close enough that, I think Armstrong was patient and certainly wanted to give Craig Berube the benefit of the doubt, but just as important, he wanted to give his players the opportunity to play out of it, and they just haven't done that.
With Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, it sounds like a similar theme to what we've been discussing in Ottawa, right? Is you're just waiting for them to get going. And last night, they lose 4-1 to Carolina, really played poorly. DJ Smith wasn't happy with the effort. The fans weren't happy. And there was kind of a wild scene in the third where Brady Tkachuk gets a penalty shot, and Kochetkov comes out and poke checks him, and he clips Brady's skate. Brady went into the boards dangerously. Like, he was flying, and he went in with a really dangerous angle. And Tkachuk gets up, and it looked like he just wanted to beat the hell out of him. And the refs got in the middle of him. The refs end up giving him a 10 and kicking him out. I'm curious what you made of the poke check in general, and, if the league is cool with that. I don't see why they wouldn't be. But also the idea that Tkachuk, like, that's a couple of times recently where he's really melting down late.
Yeah.
Like, he's the captain, he's the leader, but, like, where does he draw the line between frustration and going over the top to the point where he's got to rein it in a little bit?
No, I'm with you, and I hear you, and I think you're right on that. Like, he's wearing it. I don't think there's any doubt. Brady Tkachuk and those who have been in the fight for a while now, he's still a young player, but they've been in it. They represent the faces of the future of the Ottawa Senators in a year where they were supposed to not just turn a corner here, but legitimately challenge for a playoff spot, and that looks less likely. And there's been lots of reason to believe that this Senators team should find hope. I mean, new ownership and Michael Anlauer wants nothing but to give this entire hockey operations group, the resources to be as good as they can be. They've been patient with DJ Smith and the coaching staff, and I think that they're going to continue to be. But as players, all you want to do is win. And the Tkachuks are wired differently than most. So, if we're specific to that play last night, I can appreciate how Brady would be PO'd at that. It's a penalty shot. You don't expect Kochetkov to come out in the way that he did. And then next thing you know, you're trying to avoid that check, but it's almost self-survival. You're not worrying about putting the puck in the net at that point. This guy's challenging you, and you're toppling at great speed into the boards. So I can understand his frustration, but I loved the response from the Carolina Hurricanes goalie. I did. Like, Brady Tkachuk, as we know, is a tough dude. They're not going to fight, but he's like, hey, whatever he said to him in whatever fashion he said to him, I had no problem with it, because it was, you want to challenge me? One of the tools in my toolbox as a goaltender is a poke check, and I just shoved it right in your face. So you can be as grouchy as you want. I actually thought it was a highlight of the night.
It was entertaining for sure. Anytime Tkachuk goes at someone, there's an entertainment value at that. Of course, the Sens want to be playing better on the ice and providing that kind of entertainment for their fans. And, there's a player in Winnipeg who's not going to be able to offer any entertainment to his fans for the foreseeable future, and that's Kyle Connor. So he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, and Ryan Strome doesn't get suspended on the play, Dregs. And it just seems like there's a lot of inconsistencies right now with the Department of Player Safety. And it's such a tiring thing to talk about, because if it seems like every year there's like a slew of things that happen, and there's a lot of outcry about this guy didn't get suspended, that guy got suspended, this was controversial, but it's not getting consistent here as things move forward.
Well, I hear you, Frankie, and I guess the one thing that would create consistency is if the Department of Player Safety came out And every time there was something sketchy, they would issue a video or an explanation on social media as to why it was called this way versus whatever the public outcry might be. And, maybe that's too much to ask for, because imagine, like every night we probably have 3 or 4 incidents or more where individually, if you're watching a game, you're fixated on that game, you see something and you're like, well, why was it called that way? Well, it's too much to ask for either, the officiating department, the NHL in general, or Department of Player Safety to examine every single thing and explain every single thing from a public perspective. That's all we're talking about here with the Kyle Connor-Ryan Strome collision. I didn't like it because I felt like, well, hold on, let me just stop here. The explanation that I was given was that, okay, Ryan Strome did not change his stance, so he kept his lower body wide going through. He didn't lean, and he didn't extend. So, therefore, he's entitled to his ice, and the collision is knee on knee. And I guess my pushback would be, well, we can all see how much time Ryan Strome had to respond to that collision to Kyle Connor. So 2 things come to mind. If it's knee on knee, are you sure you're going to win that battle? And you can't be. I mean, what if both guys get knee injuries and they're out for an extended period of time? So that's a gamble. Why shouldn't the player who can see the other player, in this case Strome seeing Kyle Connor, be expected to adjust and change his body position or his stance? You could still make contact. He could have still made contact, I think, with the upper body, but that's not how it was explained to me by the Department of Player Safety. So, Ryan Strome gets, not, maybe I shouldn't say gets away with something. In my mind, he does, but not according to the rule book. And Kyle Connor is out for a minimum of 6 weeks and maybe longer.
Yeah, huge hit for him. I mean, he was in a rocket race, and now he's out of it now. I mean, it's over. You're going to miss 15, maybe 20 games. You're out of it. And Winnipeg has been a really good story and a really good consistent team this year. And they're in a fight, man. Like you're in there with Colorado and Dallas. You're trying to keep up, and Connor coming out is going to be difficult for them to overcome. With Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider, we were discussing, this upcoming skills competition at the All-Star Game.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you can tell us, Dregs, about. It sounds like McDavid was heavily involved. They're looking at, I guess, 12 players, right? And they're going to put $1 million on the line.
Yeah.
This sounds exciting to me. I mean, I have not been in the mood for the All-Star Game or the All-Star Weekend in a long time. But if they do it right and they pick the right players and these guys actually care about it, I think that can go a long way in dragging guys like myself and other fans back into the weekend.
I think so, and I guess what I'm surprised by, and it's not a huge deal, but we reported on this last Tuesday at the Board of Governors, and then we talked about it on Wednesday, and it just didn't seem to gather any attention. So now that the NHL officially announces it, everybody's going, ooh, geez, well, that's pretty cool, and it is. And I'm not trying to take, the attention away from the National Hockey League. I was just surprised of all the eye-glazing things that came out of last week's Board of Governors meetings, when we talked about an individual player being champion of the skills competition, earning as much as $1 million, people didn't really gravitate to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the charity that's involved too, and I think that had to go hand in hand, right? So now, if you're that player, and you've got an opportunity to designate $500,000 to your charity, who isn't going to be up for that? In addition to putting the money in your pocket too, right? So I like it. I think it's a real good idea by the NHL and the Players Association. And O-Dog and I talked a little bit about this on set last night, during the Rangers and the Leafs game. Now what can they do to get that game kind of juiced up? And I don't know that there's anything you can do, because we all know this. Players go into the actual All-Star game and there isn't a ton of money involved. You're not going to put yourself in a position of getting hurt, and there shouldn't be any risk in going into a skills competition and doing everything that you can do. So this might be the best of what we should expect.
I agree. I don't need the game to matter. The game's not going to matter. I need one big event from the weekend, and
100%.
If this is what it is, then that's a big positive. And the next step for the NHL is to make sure that they don't care about feelings. Right? Like if it's going to be 8 players or then I believe 12 players, right? There's going to be a fan vote, I believe, on the remaining 4.
Yeah.
I don't, you don't need to say, well, that guy's been really good this year. No, he doesn't have the star power. He's out. Like it's got to be McDavid, Matthews, McCarr. Like it's got to be the big boys. And if it's the same guys every year, so be it. That's got to be driven home here.
I 100% agree. And one thing I will say about every NHL player, I mean, everybody plays for money, but I'm going to repeat myself in saying that charity element means just about as much because those guys want to deliver that check. I think it's going to be the best part by far of the All-Star weekend.
Dregs, are the Washington Capitals moving out of downtown D.C.?
Jeez, man. When that story broke and we were following in-house during the game, it felt like a strong leverage play, and it still does to a degree, right? But this is good work by Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Capitals and the Wizards, in going through that process. And so many teams around the NHL have to do this from a local jurisdiction standpoint, where you fight and you fight and you fight. Calgary went through it, right? Like how many teams go through it? Where we need renovations to our building, or we need a new building, all of that, and they just can't get the city or the state or the province or the municipality on board. It becomes more of a political battle. Well, Ted Leonsis just said, okay, well, we've been talking, inside the jurisdiction of D.C., and we're not getting the money here from, the D.C. government here locally, the mayor's office, whatnot, to make this go. So we're going to push this statewide, and they go into Virginia. It's not that far away from Washington, D.C., but it's still going to be painful for, Capitals fans and Wizards fans. But now all that does is put pressure more so on the local government, who have already ponied up, $500 million last night of an $800 million renovation to the existing building. So this is just leverage, I think. I'm not saying that it can't happen, and the Caps and the Wizards aren't going to move. That seems like a safe bet at this point, but I like the fact that every once in a while you got to corner the locals and make sure they're well aware. Like you guys have been to Washington, D.C. in that building.
Dregs, they better renovate the visitors' shower. That's all I got to say, because I don't know what prison showers are like, but that's got to be pretty close to the visitors' dressing room.
It's brutal. It is 100% brutal. So, and here's the thing that I admire most is that it just suddenly appeared in the news yesterday. This hasn't been some lingering thing that we've been chasing hour by hour, week by week, month by month. All of a sudden, you get slapped in the head. Here's where it's at. Here's where it's going. Now it's up to local DC to figure it out. Come up with the $600 million or whatever Leonsis needs to make sure that they can fully renovate to the tune of $800 million. I appreciate his position all day long.
Well, hopefully Ovechkin's past Gretzky by the time the shovels are in the ground, but I'm not sure, man. It's taken Ovi a while here to get off the ground.
You know who they need to broker this deal?
Yeah.
Sean Stellato. That's who needs to broker this deal.
Tommy DeVito's agent. Get him on the phone. I like that idea. I'm just seeing Mark Masters tweeting out the World Juniors have made their cuts.
Roster? Yeah.
And
was that right? Do they go 12 forwards now?
They did. They kept one spot open, hoping for NHL help. But, I mean, it just doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen, though, Dregs.
No, well, okay, look at Zach Benson in Buffalo for a moment. Okay, so he plays power play, he plays penalty kill. He plays with, I think he's playing with Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck right now, right? Yeah, I don't see
They're not sending him back.
Buffalo.
No way.
No. So then you've got Matt Poitras, who's with the Boston Bruins. Maybe a glimmer of hope, but the messaging I'm getting out of Boston is that's unlikely too. I mean, look, they're trying to build a depth that they really don't have in Boston, and he's been a part of that with Johnny Beecher. So I think it's a long shot. But the flip side is, and look, it's a bit unconventional because I think the team flies to Sweden tomorrow, do they not?
Yeah, they head over soon, and that's the problem, I guess.
I guess, but so you take a week and, you find out officially that these two NHL players aren't going to be available. Who isn't going to take that call in the Canadian Hockey League? That next guy up as the 13th forward, he will happily get on a plane and go to Sweden. I don't think that's going to be an issue, and I think that's their plan B.
Well, if you're a Leaf fan and you're wondering, Fraser Minten made the team. I think we all knew that, but Easton Cowan has made the team. So that's two forwards up front. But I think what's more interesting in terms of the forwards is this Macklin Celebrini kid made the team, which is pretty wild. I mean, you don't see a lot of 17-year-olds make Team Canada, and I hope they play him. Right, I'm looking forward to seeing the kid play.
Yeah, me too. And and the coaching for Team Canada, understandably, is careful, right, in assessing this kid's ability because they don't know him that well, and you always got to be a little hesitant when you're going on to the world stage. Looks like Sweden is going to be absolutely loaded, and all the powerhouses of the international game will be there. So. It's a tough one. You want to put that much pressure on a young guy like that, but it looks like he's ready.
Do you, if you're Hockey Canada, do you even have the stones to call Chicago and ask about Bedard?
No.
No, you don't? Okay, just wondering, just clarifying.
How about Adam Fantilli? Are you calling there? Or, they probably know that Shane Wright likely isn't coming out of the Seattle organization. So.
Yeah, probably not.
No,
probably a waste of time. Maybe a group chat thing, a collective text. Anyone, yes or no, thumbs up? Okay, thank you. Moving on. All right, Dregs, we'll leave it there. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. I think that actually would be hysterical if you had an intern. You got to go call Kyle Davidson in Chicago, just see if he's willing to give Bedard up.
That'd be like you're trying to see what's someone's new to the company. Like, let's say someone's new to Hockey Canada. You really want to see what they're made of, see what they're due for the company. Mm-hmm. Call Chicago.
Yeah.
See if you can get Bedard over for the World Juniors.
Just call and pitch the idea of him playing at the World Juniors.
Put a PowerPoint together. Imagine that. Yes. Can you put a PowerPoint together on the reasons why Chicago should loan Connor Bedard for the World Junior team?
I'd love to see it. Maybe you can land, right? Maybe it's like the Ohtani chase. You got in a room, right? What's that worth? They were willing to accept your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about Canada every year, man, is Bedard's not going to be there. Fantilli's not going to be there. Shane Wright, as Dreg said, technically could still qualify, and that's just the way it works, especially when it's in Europe and the nature of the draft, high-end picks. They play, they make the team. The rest is history. That said, I'm sure Sweden, you just said, is loaded. I'm sure Leo Carlsson could help, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe he's going. I think he's sticking in Anaheim. So other countries obviously could say the same thing, but. Anyway, all right, role play level of concern coming up. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
You can never ask me to stop drinking. Do you understand?
I do. I really do.
All right, Frankie, here we go. Role play level of concern. You've played it many times. You know the way this works.
Yeah.
Right? We're supplied, generally it's a person, a player, a team, and then a scenario, and then we have to come up with our level of concern.
Love it.
Very easy stuff. Pint on the patio, six-pack and a shot, Wade Boggs at a Lightning game, Marty Wildwood, Nick Cage. What is complicated now is the amount of options for your level of concern.
How can we incorporate the roof daddy? Look at this, look at that.
I'd love that. I'd love that. You know what? I just got a note. From someone that works with Hockey Canada. So the guy's name is Doug Roach, and by all accounts, he is beloved in Manitoba. He's an awesome guy. He was a former player, big community guy, does a lot with different sports.
Yeah.
And it's a junior hockey team, a junior hockey league in Manitoba, and he just calls the games. And apparently he's got like dozens and dozens of calls that are almost as amazing as Roof Daddy.
So we could get like a greatest hits collection going at some point. Oh, man.
And I'm ecstatic that the information's starting to come in. We got to try to get Doug on. I think we'll try to later in the week.
Yeah.
And we'll keep playing that clip. So I don't know if we can incorporate it now, but it's a good point. I think, hey, whatever. Who cares? It's a bit. You do whatever you want, Frankie.
We'll figure it out.
You want to bring it into the fold? You do your thing. It's your call.
Figure it out.
All right, Frankie, you're playing the role of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning. They got skunked last night in Vancouver. What is your level of concern? The window is closed, and you're no longer a serious cup contender.
Oof. I am the defenseman, the two defensemen that got split on the goal, and then he went roof daddy, and he said, look at this, look at that. I'm the 2D man. I'm the 2D man watching that guy split me because I'm thinking my Stanley Cup window is gone. And it just seems like for Tampa Bay, a lot of good players there, like John Cooper, very well-respected coach, but that little magic that they had, it seemed like that's run its course here, and it's a few different things. The decor is not what it was, and that's going to take a long time for them to rebuild. And remember how they would always have these guys come up, and it was like, Yanni Gourde or Ross Colton or Coleman, and those were the guys like giving you bang for your buck, lower in the lineup, that played the hero at certain points. They don't have that anymore either. So without those two elements and that little bit of pixie dust, I think it's closed on them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yanni Gourde, Killorn was there forever, is no longer there. Palat left a couple of years ago. Like, those were monsters, big parts of who they were and what they represented. And there's still Kucherov probably would win the MVP tonight or close to it. Like, he may not because they're not a playoff team, but he is chugging. But a lot of, like, what Stamkos is doing, you got power play points, but 5-on-5, they're just not a dominant team right now. They're not. And Vasilevsky was injured. He's back. He hasn't been great. I'm not sure he's going to be great this year. I think he might need a full reset. I think there's a lot of concern there, a lot of this and a lot of that out in Tampa. All right, I'm playing the role of Mark Shapiro. What is my level of concern? The renovations will not create buzz unless there's a big splash this offseason. I'm going to say Wade Boggs. I'll use a baseball level of concern here. Wade Boggs with a 2-4 on ice under the seat. There's a lot of concern here because this is the issue that the Jays have in terms of marketing the new renovations. They played that card last year, right? It was a two off-season plan in blueprint, and I'm intrigued. I think a lot of people are intrigued, but this is the lower bowl now. This is more, my understanding is about, the players and the facilities kind of behind the scenes, the clubhouse, etc. The idea of jacking ticket prices, selling people on coming down to see new angles and different opportunities and different options, I think it paid off last year exceptionally well. They sold a ton of tickets. Everyone seemed to love the renovations down there, myself included. I don't think you can play that card a second time without something being connected to it. Like, you want to drag people into this park, you're going to sell tickets anyway. People are going to be jacked for opening day, etc. But there's got to be something here. Some signing, some trade at some point between now and opening day where you say, okay, that's different. That's an improvement. This team is going to move in the right direction here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And it just, the heartbreak of not landing Ohtani, which never should have been that feeling, but it was because of the reporting that was done and Jays fans getting their hopes up. Now it feels like it's so empty. And if they come up shorthanded again, it's like, all right, we're just going to see the same team and hope that the hitting improves and hopefully the pitching stays the same. I don't know, like, where's the buzz? They need a big brand name, someone that they could really market in order to create that buzz.
It's a business. And again, just the renovations. They sold last year. They did. I was intrigued. A lot of people were intrigued. I wanted to see the park. The park's been around since '89. It was a complete makeover, and this is only going to continue that. But I think you play that card once. Right, the second time, I don't think it'll land as much. Frankie, you are the PGA Tour. You're playing the role of the PGA Tour. What is your level of concern that LIV is going to continue to poach your talent and will eventually catch you?
Let's go to Hamilton and pay a visit to our good buddy Marty Wildwood.
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
I wouldn't have said this a year ago, but I think Dan Rappaport brought up a really good point the other day on Twitter when he said the PGA's biggest downfall here is that they don't own the majors and the Ryder Cup. and that has left them susceptible to live golf. And the amount of money that they're throwing around, and all those guys that went to live, they've broken the threshold. They took all the bullets now. So anyone that's going over, John Rahm's going over, it's like you're just sliding in nice and easy. You're collecting your money, and you're going to have this new way of golf. And because you punched your tickets, all the majors, you don't miss out on anything. I think that's going to leave the PGA Tour susceptible to live golf catching them. They're still going to have to find a way to get this a little more mainstream on the networks. That's going to be their biggest barrier. But as far as acquiring talent, it's wide open.
I think there's another angle here that should be also terrifying to the PGA Tour, and that is that LIV eventually realizes that they need to change the way they operate, and if they do that, they might start dragging some people in. And what I mean by that is no one cares about the team stuff. They don't care, and I don't believe anyone ever will. So if they get rid of that, I read something today, Taylor Gooch was on record saying they're looking at 72-hole tournaments. That's a start. All of a sudden you go from three rounds to 4. Maybe you add a cut. Then all of a sudden, and I wonder if their whole plan was poach, claim you're different, crush the PGA Tour, and eventually just become the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And if you're a viewer, like I am, the last thing that they're going to need to do is get in on the course rotation. That's where the PGA, they have Torrey Pines. They've got Pebble. They've got, Bay Hill. They've got the Memorial. They've got, all these different TPC courses that are like the PGA, that's their spot. But if the Saudis and LIV eventually say, we'll go to Riviera and offer them this, Riv's a private course. They may just say, fine, we'll take it. You can come play here. Or other courses on the circuit may say, yeah, come on up. You can play here. And that would be my thing that would concern me if I was the PGA Tour. Not in the next year or two, probably not in the next 5 or 10. But if they're still alive and poaching talent, and in 10 to 15 years, LIV becomes the PGA Tour, you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not beholden to the PGA Tour. I'm cool with their history. I'd prefer their history. I'd prefer it stay alive. But if you take the best players playing effectively the same type of tournaments at the same courses, but it's LIV instead of PGA, there's no difference.
Yeah.
I'll still watch. If LIV is playing at Riviera and it's a great tournament, I'll watch. Right? But
let me ask you something. So you've played the National now a few times. What if LIV went to the National and its members and the board and said, we want to give you X amount of dollars to do a tournament here? Like, what would that number have to be? Because it's one of those courses, it's, the members, they're very exclusive, very private. They don't want the publicity. But if there's got to be a number amount that they look at it and say, sure, man, come on
question.
up. Come on up.
Exactly. It's a good question. Is there amount of money where you say, this is what we're willing to pay to get in, and then that's ours, and that may be a part of it in the future, and that's got to be scary for the PGA Tour. It has to. Again, LIV I think is still goofy. The 54 holes, the shotgun start, the shorts, the music. It doesn't feel professional.
You see, they're trading guys within the teams
right
it's
now.
Goofy.
It's goofy stuff that I don't believe will work, and I'm not convinced they believe it will. But I think they felt they had to be different early. But if in 10 years they're playing 4 rounds, everyone tees off at 1, it's staggered starts, maybe there's a cut, and they're playing Pebble Beach, it's like, okay, I might watch that. That might be something you'll check out. I am playing the role of the Chicago Blackhawks. What is my level of concern that I will be a basement dweller for the entirety of the Bedard entry-level contract? Play it.
You can never ask me to stop drinking.
Yeah, it's a full-blown Nick Cage because they're the worst team in the league, and they have Bedard. That's what they are. They're the worst team in the league. If they're not, they're one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the league. And this was the issue. The difference when McDavid arrived was they already had Draisaitl, and they had Nurse, and Nugent Hopkins was there. And when Matthews arrived, he came in with Marner and with Nylander, and they had infrastructure, and they had a coach. Chicago they just don't have anything. Yeah. They really, really don't have anything. There obviously are some players in the system, some players on that team, but they are nowhere close, and they will not be next year, which means you have this year, next year, and the year after before I would guess Bedard walks in and goes, I'll take $14 million on an 8-year deal.
Right.
More than likely, it's going to be I'll just take the highest, they're going to have to pay him a fortune. and he'll deserve it likely. So this 3-year window where he's cheap was really important, and I think it's going to be completely wasted.
That's the tough thing about doing these scorched earth rebuilds is, you clear out everyone. Kirby Doc, you're gone. Like, move on from every single player that has some kind of term or certain understanding of what the contract is going to be, cost certainty. You move on from everyone, but now what do you have? You got one guy, and you got to rebuild around him. You don't have any infrastructure around him. It's hard. In theory, it's the right thing to do, to move on from everyone, have all these expiring contracts. But now you're going to need a couple more years of getting 18-year-olds. Like, when are 18-year-olds really a factor? Other than, we see it with Bedard, we see it with Matthews, McDavid, but, you look at Slavkovsky in Montreal. Look at what Nugent Hopkins was. It takes certain guys a longer time to really mature into that kind of player, and some of them don't even really turn into that franchise guy. So you need that. You need a few of those picks, and you need some really good vets. That's going to take time. That really does take time. And then, look at what the Leafs have gone through over the years, where you have the core group, that nucleus, and then they can't get over the hump for years and years and years. And
that's another thing.
It's hard, man.
Even if once you get it together, then you've got to prove you've got what it takes to win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This really could be a situation, like what Detroit was when they got Yzerman. It was just like, Yzerman's arrived, here's your guy, but you're going to be terrible for like a decade, or close to it. Even Lemieux, when he first got to Pitt, it was like, you got to wait 6-7 years, kind of like, this guy's going to torch the league, but he's not going to do anything. Michael Jordan, when he got to Chicago, it took them years, and I believe Bedard eventually will get to a point where he's at the top, but it's more difficult than the 80s and the 90s to collect guys because of the salary cap and the amount of teams in the league. Mm-hmm. It's another part. Like, when you go scorched earth and you got 31 other teams you're competing with, that's tough, man.
Yeah. That
is tough.
Yeah.
There you go. Role play level of concern. All right, we'll come back with the great Doug Roach. One more Doug Roach call before we get out of here, right? Look at that. Tee up Raptors, Atlanta tonight. Get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Raptors money line tonight. They got to get winning here, man. Darko wants to take them out for dinner. Come on.
He wants it, man.
Yeah. Dying to get the boys out to Boston Pizza. Raptors money line tonight. Scotty Barnes over 5.5 total assists. OG Anunoby over 2.5 made threes tonight. That parlay paying plus 377. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in any same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly, 18+, physically located in Ontario. You want to hear Doug Roach one more time? I love this guy. He's a community leader out in Manitoba, small town in Manitoba. And the junior league, I guess, I don't know if they televise games, but they obviously they're taping games.
It's a stream. I think it's an online stream. It's like you sign up for it, put your credit card in, and then you get to hear Dougie Roach with an absolute beauty. So let's play the original. If we have time, we can play the one with Bedard's goal dubbed over it from last night. Yeah. Bedard scored a beauty. But this is what went viral. It's been going viral for the last couple of days. This call, it will be in the OverDrive rotation for the rest of time. Like, as long as I'm on this show, Doug Roach will also have a presence on this show. Play it.
Joey Bielik has it. He turns back. Looks like they're doing a little reverse that you might see in football. And here comes Bazin. He's got some speed. Split the D. Oh, what's he going to do? He's shooting the roof, Daddy. Oh, look at that. Look at this. Look at that.
Almost sounds French at the end a little bit. Like there's like an accent in there.
It's like he slips out of gear when he splits the D.
Listen, man, it was a great call because it kind of looked like something you'd see in football, and all of a sudden splits the D, roof daddy.
Oh, look at that!
The three octaves kills me, man. It's Mariah Carey Christmas album, three different octaves in one shot.
That's right.
Roof daddy. Look at this. Look at that.
It really is. It's Mariah Carey. Ariana Grande, like trying to one-up each other. It's like Dougie Roach is trying to one-up himself.
Yeah.
You want to play the one with Bedard's goal last night?
Please, yes.
Right. A little reverse that you might see in football. And here comes Bazin. He's got some speed. Split the D. Oh, Oh, what's he gonna do? He's shooting the roof, Daddy! Oh, look at that!
It's so
Look
good.
at this, look at that!
It's perfect.
Yeah, it really is, man. Bedard. That was a great goal last night.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that's great in Chicago right now. I did see something great just come across my email, though.
What's up?
Little auction with Golf Canada, first tee auction. I see you're out there offering a little round at Coppenwood.
Yes, yeah. I've thrown my name into the hat. I love it. I was not aware that was up live yet, but our buddy, I was talking with Lawrence the other day, and Golf Canada, we love everyone at Golf Canada.
Yeah.
Big fans of our show. We're big fans of what they bring to the table, and yeah, that'll be up for auction. A foursome, maybe a breakfast. 18 up at Coppenwood.
Little hot stove, hot takes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be bringing takes, and we're all going to be in carts. That's one thing that needs to be in the fine print.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be walking that day, but if you're good with carts and maybe some music and some this and some that, we'll get out and fire things
Roof
up.
Daddy.
Roof Daddy. We'll go Roof Daddy. I love it. There you go. Okay. Good to see. Good to know. I guess I probably should have known that, but now I do. So it's out there. Get out and bid if you want to tee it next year. All right, Frankie. Good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Tomorrow, I think Al's brother and Jonas Siegel, I believe, are on the show.
You are going to be fed analytics.
There will be a lot of numbers. Tremendous information. I'll poke the two, and I'll try to trigger a war between the two of them. Yeah. I'll find some sort of middle ground, and I will poke at Jonas. I'll poke at Al's brother. And I think Hazenbro on the clock for the football game tomorrow night. So we look forward to that. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your games. We're back tomorrow at...
Look at this, look at that at 4 p.m.
Look at this, look at that. We'll chat then.
Look at this, look at that!